they find out you spent some time in prison? What if they find out you dropped out of school? You can't do that. There's someone else. You've not heard from God. You had some bad Mexican last night. That's not God. And that voice of fear says, don't dare step into that. I told you a minute ago, the thing that God wants to redeem. Listen, man, we're so good at running from the things in their life. Why is it better to run from the stuff in our life than it is to let God redeem the stuff in our life? You understand what I'm saying? God wants to take your messes, and He wants to turn them inside out. And here's what I know. Whatever your struggle is, whatever your struggle, addiction, divorce, brokenness, prison, dropping out of school, bankruptcy, whatever it is, pick a million of them. Guess what? There's a million other people out there struggling with the same thing you do. And all of them are trying to hide under the bed, shove it into the closet, don't let nobody know about it. Guess what God says? When you drag things out of the dark into the light, guess what He does? He heals that thing. He wants to use you to heal some other people. And some of y'all look at me like, Lynch, you crazy. I ain't telling nobody about that. That's my mess. I'll go to the grave with it. You might. You might not. What you might miss out on is the one thing that God wants to pour into your life that will be the joy of your life. You may go down, you may not carry that thing to the grave with you, but what you may find out is when you start talking about it, it starts helping other people. When you start helping other people, what do we say our goal is here? See the lost saved, the saved freed, the freed restored, and the restored fulfilled. You're going to find fulfillment in your life when you start stepping into the things that God wants you to do. Maybe you struggle like Moses did. Here's the next thing. Moses can't risk rejection. Exodus 4:1, Moses answered, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't listen to me? What if they say the Lord did not appear to you? What's the voice there? It's the voice of rejection. What if they reject me? And there's a good chance that there will. 2 million Israelites. Who am I to stand up in front of them and say, God sent me? Who are you? You are the one that God showed up to in a burning bush. Show me the one that the angel of the Lord spoke to from a burning bush and said, I am Yahweh God and I'm sending you. That's who you are. And some of you know this morning, there's a thing inside of you that's been there for a while and you've been pushing down and shoving back. No, God, you must be mistaken. You can't be talking to me. Before I got into ministry, I worked in manufacturing management for about 15 years. So this isn't the only thing I've ever done. I lived in that world for about 15 years. And if you took me back 15 years ago, I couldn't see what this all looks like right now. I never wanted to be a preacher, never wanted to be a pastor, didn't want to go into ministry. But the Spirit of God just kept compelling my heart. And God started turning my heart to where this was something that instead of it being something that when I was a kid, it was the last thing I wanted to do, God turned it around to become something that I would have done. I would have paid them to let me do this because He set my heart on fire for it. And when I made that decision to leave industry and to go to work in full-time ministry 18 years ago actually, I remember walking into my boss's office and telling him that I'm bringing you my resignation. He looked at it and said, where are you going to work? I swallowed real hard because I knew what was coming. I said, well, I'm going to work at a church. I'm going to work with teenagers. He looked at me and said, you're leaving this to go work at a church with teenagers? Yes, sir. How much are they paying you? None of your business. I walked out as quick as I could out of that room knowing that I had family members that were going to be really concerned about how I was going to provide for my family. I had probably a lot of people said, Lynch done fell and bumped his head. That dude is gone crazy. What is he doing? And I didn't go to be a pastor like y'all know 2023, Jeff. I went to work in that church as a youth director, which meant, man, I was hanging around with a bunch of teenagers, and I had to start going to online ministry school to learn how to do the thing, and had to get a degree in that, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no education in youth ministry, had no education in ministry, period. I didn't grow up in a youth ministry. I did not know what I was doing, but I knew that God had called me to it. And so many Monday mornings, man, in that church, I would come in. There's nobody there. I'd come into the sanctuary and get down at the altar and just pray and say, God, do you really know what you're doing here? Because I don't. And I remember praying and saying, God, if you don't make something happen here, this is going to be the biggest screw up it ever was. I am about to blow it. Can I tell you something? Might be the best place I've ever been in my life. You know why? Because I was completely depending on him and not on my experience, my knowledge, my ability. And God met me in that place. And he led me the whole way. Why am I telling you that? Because Moses was afraid of the rejection of people. I'm not telling you that I wasn't afraid of their rejection. But there's this thing that happens when you're able to push down that voice of fear of rejection, and you hear it, and yeah, it makes sense, but you push it down, and you step into it anyway. You step into it anyway. And when you step in, God opens the next 3 doors for you, and he shows you how to get to them. But we got to get there. We can't fear that thing. Next thing Moses says is, I can't talk to them. Verse 10, Moses said to the Lord, Oh Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I'm slow of speech and tongue. And without going into a lot of detail, Moses was known to be a stutterer. And he says, I can't speak to these people, God. I'm going to stutter. And Pharaoh's so educated, he knows how to form arguments. How am I going to stand and debate with him? And I believe what God wants to say to him, am I not the God who put the tongue in your mouth? Did I not put the brain in your head? Can I not wire you to do whatever I want to do? He wants to say the same thing to some of you who have every excuse under the sun of why you're not going to step into the thing that God has been calling you to do. And I'm not necessarily talking to, like y'all may look at me like, well, is Jeff calling us to quit our jobs and go into ministry? Does he think I'm supposed to be a missionary or something? I mean, maybe. But we're a church that does ministry 7 days a week, and I need you in the schools, and I need you in the doctor's office, and I need you at the soccer fields, and I need you at Walmart, and I need you in all of those places. Now, some of you, God may be calling to do that, but all of us who are Christians, followers of Jesus, Jesus looked at the masses, and he had compassion on them. And he's looking at Danville, and he's saying, bro, people are dying out here. People are literally dying. And people are living lives that seem like hell in their alive life. And I'm not okay with it. Jesus told us the thief has come only to steal and kill and destroy. Let me ask you a question. Does our community look more like steal, kill, and destroy, or does it look more like what else Jesus said? He said, but I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Does our city, our community look more like life to the full, or does it look more like steal, kill, and destroy? If it looks more like the enemy is active and having his way, then who's going to do something? Jesus said, my church, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Guess who the church is? You are. I am. We are. Last one, man. Moses says, I can't be the one you have chosen. And in verse 13, Moses says, oh, Lord, please send someone else to do it. Please send someone else to do it. I want to just say this to you right now, and I'm going to lean on you just a little bit because my guess is that there's some of you that feel like there's a thing that God may be calling you to do, and you don't want to do it. I remember when the missionaries used to come to our church when I was a kid, and they would show these slideshows of the Philippines in place, and my prayer was not, oh, God, send me. My prayer was, God, please don't make me have to go there. Don't send me to a hut in Africa. Don't send me to India. Here's what I'm saying to you. That's the wrong prayer. And here's why that's the wrong prayer. Your God knows you. Your God created you.